Hey, welcome back. I'm Tyler. Today on Wood Nerds, I'm going to show you how to make the most cost-effective raised garden bed in the world.
You crazy son of a bitch, you did.
Okay, maybe not in the world, maybe not ever created, but super cost effective. Let me talk to you about the plan behind the garden bed really quick. The idea was to make a raised garden bed for as cheap as possible that's usable in most of your gardening situations. We started off with 9 cedar pickets. Cedar is naturally fungus, rot, pest resistant, and does well with water. The cedar pickets that I got came from Lowe's, but you'll likely be able to pick these up from any big box store near you, or maybe even cheaper from a lumber yard. The dimensions of the cedar pickets that I have are 72 inches long, or about that, and about 5.5 inches wide. Because it's not very complicated, this project is great for beginners or someone looking to save money by building one of these for themselves.
Help me, I'm poor. No, listen.
If you're a professional and you're selling the projects that you make, this is a great addition to your store. The upfront cost on this for materials is only $30, and then the turnaround is somewhere around $90 to $100. So that's perfect, right in that 3 times profit margin. I also designed this to be super cost effective with little to no leftovers. Here are all of the cutoffs after building this garden bed. Very cost effective, very cheap. Not a lot of leftover wasted wood. Leave a comment below and let me know your intentions. I'd love to hear if this makes or saves you some money. Now, I'll be including all the information to build these in this video. If you'd like to support the channel by purchasing some plans, I'll have those as a link in the description as well.
Shut up and take my money!
All right, put your pants on. Let's get to work. Factory edge for the pickets can be quite fugly. Chop it off for a nice clean edge to use. For an accuracy and efficiency gain, use a stop block for your repeatable cuts. I need 12 of the same thing here for the short sides and the floorboards. 17.5 inches, 12 pieces total. This is going to use up 3 pickets. Also using 3 pickets are the long sides. 34.25 inches in length. We'll end up with 6 pieces in total. Very little leftover, as you see on the miter saw there. The legs are a little bit different. We're going to be needing 4 cuts for this, and we'll be using the bevels for the feet portion of the legs. For the first 2 cuts, set the cutoffs to the side. The third cut, we're going to save the beveled side for the leg, and then the cutoff here is going to be the 4th leg. Because that 4th leg is missing the bevels, we're going to recreate that. Just trace them out from one of the previous legs, and then cut those edges off. We're going to take those leg pieces over to the table saw and rip them in half. I would suggest using a scrap piece to test this out. The first pass was a smidge too wide for me. 2 5/8 inch was perfect though. It gave me 2 equal halves for these legs. Dude, I just want to take a second here and thank you. I really appreciate you taking time to watch my videos. If you want to support the channel and help me produce more videos in the future, if you like the way I do things, do me a huge favor. Like this video, leave a comment down below of some sort. It could be hi and where you're from. It could be what you like about this project or what you like about the channel, or even future projects you'd like me to cover. Any of that really helps the algorithm. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We're going to start assembling the legs, and the reason why we're not continuing to cut some of the other stuff is we want to build the box and everything first and then remeasure. Some of these boards are a little warped and cupped, and it'll cause issues. Things won't be perfect. But pay attention to what sides you have the bevel on. For these first 2, the bevel is going to be on the same side, and then I flip it over and construct it the other way, and that way you've got mirrored legs. You want them to mirror each other. You don't want them all to be the exact same because the overlap here will cause a difference that you need to account for. So mirror works out better. I'll show you here in a second, but this is what I'm saying. Instead of the bevel being on the right side, I flip it over to the left side, and everything else remains the same in this procedure. Put some glue on there. And it's important to know that I'm using Titebond 3, which is waterproof and rated for outdoor projects, as well as the fasteners that I'm using are galvanized or stainless, some sort of outdoor rated fastener so that it doesn't rust over time with all the water exposure it's going to get. So here's what I'm talking about with the legs. This is a mirrored, so you can see we've got a flat on the bottom, and then the vertical stands up on top of that flat piece of the leg. And we'll have 2 situations just like that, and that's how they're going to be orientated for fastening on the long sides. So first I stack them all together and make a mark to make sure I know where to glue, and then you'll notice I put one of the long sides down towards the bottom, and that way it keeps the boards parallel to each other, the feet parallel to each other, and then I fasten them on. About 5 nails in each board, and I do this for both sides. You can totally use screws instead of nails, but nails are much faster and cheaper, so if you've got a nail gun, I suggest using that. With the long sides complete, let's join them on the short sides. I'm going to take one of the short pieces and put it in place, and then use a clamp to hold it in place while I go through this. Again, to keep everything parallel and square to each other as good as possible, I'm going to use some spacers and then one of the short boards towards the bottom. Apply my glue. It's really the same procedure here. A bunch of nails, a bunch of glue, and everything turned out really good. As I flip it over to the other side, because of all of the warping and cupping, the box here is quite out of square. But if you squint, it's mint. This is meant for the garden, and it'll be totally fine. I just use a clamp to clamp it to the tabletop and push it a little bit more into square. And then again, the procedure is the same. A bunch of glue, a bunch of nails, and it turned out perfect. With the box set up here, I'm going to take some of the cutoffs from before and cut out the ledgers. 1 inch wide, 33 inches long. We'll need 2 of those, and then 2 inches wide for the short rails. We only need to cut 1 of those out, and then 2 inches wide for the long rails, and we'll need 2 of those. Like I said before, because the boards here are imperfect and we're not doing anything to fix that, now is a good time to measure and cut. The short rails are measured basically inside the box on that short side, as you can see, in between the long side panels. Basically the same width as the short panels there. Some glue, hold it in place, and then nail them down. You could do miters for these. I just chose to do square butt joints, but whatever you want. This is just much easier, and honestly, in my opinion, the outcome isn't visually much of a difference. I'm not making some sort of fancy furniture here. This is going to be out in the sun and rain, so I wouldn't worry about it. I'm going to measure for the ledger boards, about 33 inches. I think I got 33 1/8, but again, measure these things as you go. That way you know that it's going to fit the amount of imperfection in your boards exactly, right? For me, it fit really tight at 33 1/8 inch. And again, the procedure is the same basically to everything else. A bunch of glue, maybe too much glue, and a bunch of nails. These are going to hold up the floorboards, as you can see here. Again, a bunch of glue on the top side, and then about 3 or 4 nails in each one of those floorboards per side. I'm adding in braces on the short and long sides here. With all the exposure to moisture, these might want to warp. This will just kind of help keep them in line. And then I go through and drill 5 holes in between each of these floorboards for drainage. If you're keeping your garden bed, you may want to protect it with some oil. This is FDA approved for garden bed sealer. I'm going to link it in the description. You should read the reviews. They've really good reviews on that. It should help maintain and keep your raised garden bed in better shape over time. But it also gives it a really nice looking, rich, deep color, which I'm actually quite pleased with. Final step for me is going to be adding landscaping fabric. Notice how after I staple it to the wall here, I fold it over, and this gives me a nice clean top edge on the fabric. You may not want to do this if you're selling your garden beds, but if you're keeping it, this helps keep all the soil inside the bed, so that way as water flows through, it doesn't come out through your drainage holes. 1 ply on the bottom, 2 ply on the sides after the fold. Looks great. There you go, super easy. I think the amount of work time I have in this thing is about 1.5 hours. If you're building a garden bed to grow some vegetables and you don't want to be out there every day watering them, I found some products in a setup that you can basically just set it and forget it, and it'll automatically go on a watering schedule for you. Thanks so much for hanging out and building with me, you guys. I'll see you next time.